Hi everyone. I'm gonna make another one of these. I've upgraded my webcam since the last time I did one of these. I hope it'll look better now. We'll see how it goes, if the audio stays synced or what have you. At least it looks like it's recording at a decent frame rate. Anyway, as you can see here, I have found an article. There we go. The Grand Architecture of Life. And as you can hear from the name, it's woo. A little bit of background. I'm in a group called Math and Physics on Facebook. And it's a pretty nice group. Most of what happens is people get help with homework problems, stuff like that. But it's people who are just interested laymen, high school students, college students, all the way up to people with actual PhDs, talking about math and physics. And, being on Facebook, obviously, every now and then we get another. Hi, George Kevin Poe. I hope the last name is a little hint, but I doubt it. I think this guy is for real. So anyway, he comes into the group and posts a list of his published works and asks for readers and for peer review. Okay, so without even having looked through the list, I'm immediately wondering, these are published works. Why are you asking for peer review? And why do you want people to read? I mean, the people who read the journals will be reading the articles. These are published in scientific journals, right? So red flag. And then I started looking at the names of the articles. It was like Black Holes, A New Perspective. And it was something about the origin of homosexuality. Quantum consciousness. And I was like, oh. Hi, Jordan. So what kind of journals would publish this? I found it here. I mean, the International Journal of Innovative Science and Research Technology. So let's have a look. I mean, the name is a red flag because it sounds extremely vague. So I'm immediately suspecting predatory journal. And so I go to their website. And this is what I found. Look, we have an ISSN number. Look how serious we are. It's nothing to do with anything. And oh, look, SJIF impact factor 7.1. Oh, an impact factor of 7.1. That's awesome. But this is the SJIF impact factor, and the one that actually counts is the one with Clarivate. What's their impact factor with Clarivate? They don't have one. Paper review notification in 1 to 2 days. Paper publishing in 2 to 3 days. They peer review your shit in 2 to 3 days. It takes months. Yeah. Open access peer-reviewed international platform publishing of top quality. No, this is a predatory journal. But you wanted peer review, George. And when I told you all of this, you got defensive. So I kind of want to be a dick and give you a video consisting of my peer review of your epic work, The Grand Architecture of Life. The Grand Architecture of Life. George Kevin Poe, Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering. Okay. So this is not about computer engineering. There's your first problem. Maybe you should stick to computer engineering, a subject where you have a degree of expertise. I mean, at least you have a bachelor's of science in it. I'm going to assume for the sake of argument that you're telling the truth about that. Although that would imply that you are college educated, so you should know better than to do this. Abstract. What is life? What makes it special? Okay, what is life? Simply put, life is self-replicating chemistry. We can make it a little more complicated and say that living systems are identified by their ability to, what did I write here? Metabolize nutrients, grow and reproduce, at least at a cellular level, and maintain homeostasis, a stable internal environment. That's what I wrote. So yeah, we have a pretty good we have a pretty good idea what life is, and a simple Google search should tell you that. What makes it special? I don't know that anything makes it special, because you don't specify what you mean by special. What makes up our own atoms? Smaller parts. I mean, atoms are immediately made up of electrons, neutrons, and protons. Same thing that makes up the atoms in all other matter. There's nothing special about life in that atoms in life forms are made up of different things than atoms in inert matter. What holds it together? The electromagnetic force. If we are made out of atoms, what makes atoms hold together while we move? I just told you, the electromagnetic force, and you should know this if you're writing a scientific paper. This is something that you learn in high school physics, if not earlier. I can't remember. We definitely cover this in high school physics. I know, I teach high school physics. There. If an atom's quantum gravity is the only one holding together all atoms, why could we move when objects cannot? But quantum gravity does not hold objects together. And why do we have consciousness if that is the case? Well, it's not the case, so your question is irrelevant. Consciousness, as I understand what we mean by it, is the subjective experience associated with information processing that's going on in our brains. We have consciousness because we have brains that process information. And consciousness is the subjective experience associated with that. That's my understanding of it anyway. But consciousness is something that's very difficult to define. This question was always what I asked myself after watching all possible documentaries and reading Facebook posts and some science. Okay, we're done. we can stop right here. Not when you studied science, because you didn't. Keywords, okay. Grand architecture of life. Keywords, dark energy, quantum realm. Okay, consciousness I can sort of understand, but reality, mind. Okay, mind, fair enough. Energy transformation, black hole. What the hell does any of this have to do with the grand architecture of life? You're talking about biology. You've barely touched biology here. This question, that's all the biology you have here. And you're asking in a group about math and physics to review your work. We're done with the abstract, and it's looking awful. I wrote a little thing here that I'm going to read. Overall, this is a really bad abstract because it doesn't tell me anything about the study. It seems extremely vague. What specific question was asked? What methods were used? What conclusions were... Wait, there was no study, right? That's what it seems like. It seems like you have done no study, because an abstract should basically be, in this paper, we address this question using this method and reach this result. That's a good abstract. This abstract says nothing. Analysis, discussion, and findings. To start off the discussion, let me start off with a story or general theory on how life has basically started. You don't know what a theory is, do you? A story or general theory. Once there were two kinds of particles in a blank black space in the first point in time. Particles and antiparticles, where like particles repel and opposite particles attract, just like in electromagnetism. Well, matter and antimatter have opposite charge, so yeah, not just like in electromagnetism. This is electromagnetism. But there were not two kinds of particles at the first point in time. There were no particles there because particles had not yet formed, and there was no space for there to be particles in. But with their very little tiny space, in a point in time, those particles had no choice but to fuse together, thus forming what we know as atoms. Because, of course, as we all know, when you put matter and antimatter in contact with each other, you get an atom. High school physics, you don't. They annihilate each other. From the fusion of such quantities, the energy produced was too great to contain, and a big bang happened from that one small place. Okay, I'm gonna give you partial credit. If you have a lot of energy into a very small space, that space will expand. Partial credit. Though as space grew, it only grew so much before shrinking again to the allowed space needed in time, and thus the process continues over and over in a short period of time. So you're saying the universe went like that. Okay, citation needed. I've seen no citation so far. No sources cited anywhere. Well, maybe we haven't gotten there yet, but this is something you need to cite a source for, because you're saying something that flies in the face of what is generally accepted. So where did you get this idea? What reasoning led you here? Before long, as the chaos within such space widened so very much that the product of fusion of atoms was the first ever matter in the universe. Yes, the product when you fuse atoms is the first matter. Wouldn't the atoms come before the product you get when they fuse together? From there, the dark energy, along with all other energies... Wait, what dark energy? When did we establish that dark energy was there? Shaped everything like a program. What does that mean? After billions of years of chaos, mixing, making, and sorting out of everything, the dark energy finally shaped up the needed galaxies. No, galaxies were shaped by gravity! Then the dark energy went on to forming many more stars and mixing elements. No, dark energy had nothing to do with this. That's gravity. Okay, you don't know what dark energy is. For the record, the universe is expanding. It was generally believed, about 30 years ago or so, that the universe would not keep expanding forever because the universe contains stuff, so gravity would cause the expansion rate to slow down, and eventually it would recollapse and end in a big crunch. Turns out that more recent observations show us that the rate of expansion is increasing. So something is opposing gravity at very large scales. And we don't really know what that is yet, but we can work out how much energy is required for this to be. And it means that about 68% of all the energy in the universe is something that we can't detect except through this effect. And because we can't measure it directly, it's analogous to dark matter in that respect. That name was already in use. So it's called dark energy. So essentially, dark energy is a placeholder name for a phenomenon that we know what it does, but we don't know what it is. I suspect dark energy, it must be mysterious because it's called dark energy. So it must be magic. And therefore, anything I say it does, that's okay. That's totally scientific. Okay, we're going to skip ahead a little. Here's something you actually got right. Life is not just made directly as it's the result of random continuous combinations from all... Well, it's not random. That's not fair. There's a random element involved, but you are right that life doesn't just pop up. It's a gradual process, starting with simple self-replicating chemicals and gets more and more advanced in a process that basically is that which works sticks around and gets all the resources. So it out-competes the stuff that doesn't work as well. This is, of course, essentially Darwinian evolution, which really kicks in when we have something that we can identify as life, not just self-replicating chemistry. So it's not just made directly as it is today. That's actually correct. You got something right, probably by accident. As soon as the brain was made, as the first few species was also made. Wait. As soon as the first brain was made, the first species was also made. But the first species did not have brains. Single-celled organisms do not have brains. Plants do not have brains. Fungi do not have brains. There are animals that don't have brains. Although all brains are found among animals. But, I mean, animals were not the first species. So the brain of the female, after receiving signals of reproduction, and the sperm of the male would then trigger signals within the body to help with making of life inside the female. Well, yes, the brain is involved in regulating processes that are involved in pregnancy, and not to mention starting off puberty. But you're talking about the brains of modern animals. Initially, reproduction was asexual. Single-celled organisms reproduce through mitosis. Thus, the Genesis theory is made, but okay, you're calling it the Genesis theory. You can call it whatever you want, but don't call it a theory, because I have seen no theory. I have seen idle speculation based on mind-blowing ignorance that I would not expect to find in an adult capable of getting a bachelor's degree. I suspect you're lying about having one. I mean, if you are college educated, you should know better than to write something this stupid. You should know how to do research. So far, we all know that the Earth rotates around the sun. Clearly, you haven't heard of flat earthers. And I'm honestly surprised you are not one, considering how ignorant you are. According to the redshift of planets as we look at the stars, the other galaxies are really far away because of dark energy. Well, what? According to the redshift of planets. Okay, we don't look at the redshift of planets. Not if you're talking about cosmological redshift. We look at the redshift of... Do we even look at the redshift of planets orbiting stars to determine orbital velocity or stuff like that? We look at the redshift of stars, how they wiggle back and forth. But that's also not cosmological redshift. That's not the one used to determine distance. The one that's used to determine distance is cosmological redshift. And that's only useful when we're talking about galaxies. According to the redshift of the planets as we look at stars, the other galaxies are really, really far because of dark energy, as far as we know. No! They're not far away because of dark energy. They are far away because of the expansion of the universe, which actually initially was completely unrelated to dark energy. Dark energy is responsible for the acceleration of the expansion, not the expansion itself. But that's also because dark energy programs... That's also because...
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Don't use slang in a scientific paper. But that is also because dark energy programs the galaxies, to go further away from other galaxies, while it also prevents a galaxy from dissipating itself. No, dark energy does not prevent a galaxy from dissipating. Gravity prevents it from doing that. Because if dark energy is only...
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
If dark energy is only there to push galaxies away from each other, the Big Crunch would have already happened, with or without us even knowing it, in this randomly unpredictable universe, where the Big Crunch is a theory which the universe will end by the collapse of everything, even atoms, as dark energy will continue to push galaxies farther away from each other. Okay, this guy is from the Philippines, so English is not his first language. fine. You should learn better English before writing a paper in English. You need to be able to, you need to have enough command of the language not to make horrible mistakes like this. This is almost impossible to read. That's not my first language is no excuse. It's not my first language either. So what's wrong with this except the language? The big crunch would have happened, blah, 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 in this randomly unpredictable universe. The universe is not random and unpredictable. It follows the laws of physics. They are deterministic, unless you count the randomness at the quantum scale, which cancels out at higher scale. No, it's not unpredictable. That's why science works, actually. If dark energy is only there to push galaxies away from each other, that appears to be the only thing that it does, yes? But that's why the big crunch hasn't happened and won't happen, because the expansion is accelerating. How would an expanding universe have a big crunch? Oh, wait, there was another sentence. Where the big crunch is a theory which the universe will end by the collapse of everything, even atoms, as dark energy continues to push galaxies away from each other. So you're thinking that the big crunch is that everything flies apart, and then this thing crushes here, and this thing here crushes, and this thing here crushes, and this thing here. No, the big crunch is that. The entire universe collapses. The universe is expanding. The big crunch is that it would slow down, eventually reverse itself, and recollapse. That's the big crunch. That's covered in high school physics. Space can't be described fully without time. Partial credit again. You're right. You're right. Space and time are linked. So that, you can't really have one without the other. That's right. Yeah, space-time, four-dimensional space-time. Where space is the three dimensions which everything is moving on, where both space and time can't be seen, just felt through the five senses. Okay, so they can be seen, because they can be felt through the five senses, and sight is one of them. Nice contradiction there. We're all three: dark energy, space, and time. They shape all of reality. Look, you're leaving you're leaving out energy in total. It's not just dark energy. Dark energy is a significant chunk of energy. It's 68% of the energy of the universe, as far as we know. But stop attributing dark energy with everything. It only seems to be pushing things apart at very large scales. There's too little of it in any given location for it to do anything, so you need lots of locations, like all of the different, all the tiny little locations between two distant galaxies. Then all that dark energy adds up to become significant. But at smaller scales, at less than cosmological scales, it's negligible. I also think that the past, present, and future are existing simultaneously. Yeah, they are simultaneously. I don't really like you using the word simultaneously here, because that's, but you're right in that the distinction is not the distinction between past, present, and future. That's not the nature of time. That is how we perceive time. We don't know how long the string is nor its thickness, just that we are in the web or tree known as the multiverse. No, we don't know that. Personally, I suspect we are. I say suspect, not believe. I think that's a difference. To me, the multiverse is a mental tool that I use to try to make sense of things that are very hard to make sense of. And I find that it is useful as a mental tool. But if the multiverse exists, I can't, as far as we know, that's untestable. It's true that the future can't be without the present, as the present can't be without the past, but I think that everything happens for a reason. Why? Aside from it being the most logical to think, causality and entropy are maintained in the universe, thus a certain balance in the whole program is achieved. Okay, that does not address the question, but I don't like when you say it's most logical to think without presenting any logical reasoning. I don't think you know what logical means. I think you mean it feels intuitive. Logic and intuition are not the same thing. And also, I don't know what it means to say that everything happens for a reason. What do you mean by reason? Do you mean there is an explanation for any given event? Or do you mean that there is a purpose behind it? Those are very different things. I would like to categorize 5 types of time in this multiverse. Universal time, the time for galaxies. Galactic time, the time for stars. Okay, time within a galaxy, okay. Planetary time, organic time, quantum time. Okay, these are not different kinds of time. They are just different scales of time. Universal time, that's what we usually call cosmological time. That's measured in like hundreds of billions, lifetime of the universe. Galactic time, that would be astronomical time, billions of years. Many billions of years. Planetary time, that geologic time, that's like the time it takes for life to evolve. Millions to billions of years, to a few billion years. Organic time, now you've gone down to like time that sort of everyday time. Yeah, lifetime of a single organism, yeah. So days, months, years. Maybe we can start talking about, we can add historical time here in between here and talk about centuries. And then quantum time, you're talking about nanoseconds, right? But these are all just time. It's just different scales of time. They're not different types of time. Also, along with dark matter, which is theorized to also hold all realities together. No, dark matter does not hold realities together. Dark matter is the placeholder name for whatever explains the apparent extra mass that galaxies have, in addition to the mass that we can actually observe because it emits light. The leading explanation is that there is a type of matter that does not interact with the electromagnetic field, or does so very weakly, meaning that it only interacts gravitationally. And this would be most of the matter in the universe. That's the leading explanation. No one is theorizing that it holds realities together. I don't even know what that means. Many assume that reality exists because of us as an observer. But what about blind people? What are their realities? What? Many assume that reality exists because of us as an... Why can't blind people make observations? Are you seriously so dumb that you think that observation refers specifically to visual observation? And no, reality does not exist because of the observer. There's a difference between reality and the perception of reality. You need an observer to have a perception of reality. And even a blind person perceives reality. A blind person obviously perceives reality in a different way than a sighted person does, but so what? It's the same reality. Does this mean that those planets, distant planets, have aliens on them so that they can also help manifest the reality within that planet or star system? No, the aliens would not manifest that reality. They would not manifest the planet. The planet does not exist because of the life on it. The planet actually predates the life on it. As reality exists with or without us. Yes, exactly. So why even bring this up? As for time travel, because of course we need to talk about time travel. Due to the multiverse theory, it may be possible to go to the past nor future. Do you mean or future? Or are you saying it is not possible? It's possible to go neither to the past nor the future.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Will you be able to go back? What, back into the past? Or are you saying if you go back to the past, is it possible to go back to the future? We don't know. We don't know the rules for time travel in reality. We don't know if time travel into the past is possible. Into the future, we know is possible, even faster than 1 second per second. Just travel fast enough and you go into the future faster than the rest of us. But going into the past, we don't know if that's possible. there appears to be, there are solutions to Einstein's field equations that allow for wormholes that connect to the past, but there's also no known way for them to form. And it would lead to some serious problems that when scientists actually look into them, they keep finding that, yeah, this seems like it works, except then this will happen, which means it won't work, and stuff like that. So it's looking doubtful that time travel into the past is possible. Black holes. What does this have to do with the grand architecture of life? This is supposed to be an analysis of the grand architecture of life. As far as we know, black holes come from the death of stars or suns. Suns are stars, with or without a system around it. But it would also depend on the type of star and on its size. It depends on the mass of the star. That's it. Little is known of their true nature. Actually, quite a lot is known. Maybe you should look it up. And there was wormholes. Einstein Rosen, misspelled Rosen. It's an S, not a Z. Mathematically proven to exist, mathematically proven to be possible within the known laws of physics. Not yet seen or visually proven. What's your obsession with things being visually proven? Black holes are an actual hole in space-time. Don't put too much weight on the name. A black hole is not a hole. It is a region surrounded by an event horizon, so that when something enters that region, it is effectively gone and can't return. So it's like it's fallen into a hole, but not a literal hole. Has anyone wondered why any of the end theories haven't happened yet? Well, which proposed end theory is supposed to have happened yet? Maybe you should learn about those theories, then you would know the answer. Aside from the math, as math isn't always absolute, we have not yet sought some relation with nature itself and with us humans, blah, blah, blah. When you say math isn't absolute, aside from the math, because math isn't absolute, you give the impression of saying, I can't be bothered to learn math, so I'm going to dismiss it regardless of how successful it has been historically and continues to be today. Math is an essential part of physics. It is what makes it possible to make predictions in physics. Physics would be absolutely useless without the math. It would just be nonsense like this without the math. Energy transformations. As far as I've already theorized, dark energy is the main program in which it maintains the order of everything from you. You don't know what dark energy is. But just how does dark energy cycle itself? It doesn't. Or what does energy transform into if it can't be made or destroyed? Other forms of energy. As dark energy is the force in the universe that you don't know what dark energy is. Then as energy will be spent from doing all that work, where does it go? It becomes other forms of energy. If you have a system A performing work on a system B, energy is transferred from A to B. I theorize that all energy will go back toward the dark energy or quantum energy, no matter how small or unseen it may be, which will also help provide the sun with energy, to sustain itself, and for the sun to do work, fusion reaction as well. No, though as the cycle goes on, just where does all that extra unseen energy go towards? Well, it dissipates into the surrounding environment. If we just have the sun, okay, first of all, there's no dark energy involved here. The fusion gives off radiation. The sun loses energy. It loses energy all the time as it radiates out heat, light, other electromagnetic radiation. Eventually, the sun's going to run out of energy. It's going to run out of fuel. It's going to die. All the energy in the sun is going to just escape out of the solar system. The universe is heading toward heat death, a state where all the energy has been perfectly evened out. I theorize that somewhere in space there are black holes that will suck in all that energy. Yes, a step along the way is that much of the energy in the universe will be contained in black holes. Yes, but they evaporate due to Hawking radiation. So eventually they'll be gone as well. In order to recycle it towards the multiverse to transform back to dark energy. No. Energy doesn't recycle. Just as the laws of thermodynamics would state, that energy can't be made or destroyed, just transformed. Yes, it's transformed into a higher entropy state. That's also laws of thermodynamics. Entropy always increases until you have a state where everything that can happen has happened. The energy is perfectly even, no more work can be done. The mind. The brain is truly a mystery. Well, there's a lot we don't know about it, you're right about that. As the brain is a dark energy generator. No, it's not. You don't know what dark energy is. Photons are also energy. Blah, blah, blah. Therefore, they can interfere with neural activity. Okay, that's not really how it works. You can't say that just because dark energy and photons are... That's actually what you're saying. There's dark energy in the brain. No, there isn't. Photons are energy. Therefore, light can influence the brain. Your reasoning is so flawed. I mean, yes, the brain can be affected by photons. I mean, if you fire gamma photons into the brain, with sufficient intensity, you will die, yes. So yes, photons can affect the brain, but your reasoning here is completely ridiculous. Which is why, when it comes to the mind, it's possible to interfere with neural activity and control it to do some things. Well, be more specific. Like mind control, for one. Of course. Where one can just expose the subject to the right quantum frequency. Hi, Jordan. So you don't know what quantum frequency means, and that's because it doesn't mean anything. But no, you can just do that. I mean, can you demonstrate that? Can you show an example of mind control being done? No, you can't even cite. You still haven't cited a single source. You can't cite a source. You haven't performed an experiment yourself. There is no research that's been done that shows this. There is no original research that you have done that shows this. There is nothing. And you're just saying, well, we can do that. All you have to do is this. Your paper is rejected. The way to control someone through a mind-controlled machine is to link one's mind towards the subject. Yes, link your mind to the subject. Go ahead. Where one-way connection would require one to have a visual on it. Why? And send commands to the subject's brain. You use a machine to send signals to someone else's brain, but it only works if you can see them. It's not the connection between the machine and the brain that matters, it's that you can see them. Yes, sure. Through quantum frequencies, you don't know what quantum frequencies mean. Or frequencies we normally can't hear. Okay. I'm clearly getting tired now. It's after midnight as I'm recording this. I'm clearly getting tired because I'm having fun now. This is the kind of stupid I like. Just comes completely out of nowhere. Now we're talking about sounds. So you don't know what the word frequency means. You think that frequencies have to do with sounds. This got funny all of a sudden. We don't hear frequencies. We hear frequencies of sounds, which are vibrations in air, or, well, it's usually air, but some medium. Our ears pick up certain frequencies of that, and we interpret that as sound. Light, that's not frequencies of vibrations in a medium. That's frequencies of electromagnetic waves. The frequency of a sound is how many times. If you have a particle in the air that gets boing, because these shock waves keep hitting it. Okay, so how many times does it move back and forth per second? That's the frequency of a sound. There is also the possibility of a mind transfer. Yeah. I mean, since mind control is an established fact that we all know about, we don't even need to. I mean, you just link a machine to someone's brain. Only works if you can see them. Also, mind transfer. Vulcans do it all the time. Yeah. It worked in Star Trek 3. No source cited, no original research done. Just this is well established. Since it would be a time machine of what? It's also possible to send one's neural energy through time. Yeah, I mean, of course. Citation needed. Meaning that the only way to travel through time is to take one's mind through time, since there would be a time machine. What the hell are you talking about? Are you actually talking about how like the psychological time travel, like that we remember the past, we can recall memories and sort of project ourselves into the past by go back to when you were a kid. That's your memory doing that. You're not actually physically moving through time. You are not sending anything back in time. Is that what you're talking about? When you recall a memory from your childhood, you are time traveling. Yeah, sure. Consciousness. In the Bible, the book of Genesis, man was made on the seventh day. I'm sure there are plenty of creationists who are that bad at their Bible knowledge, but no, man was made on the sixth day. But what does Middle Eastern mythology have to do with all of this? This is because of the brain. No, it was because the people who made up those myths wanted us to be special. So we were the crowning achievement, so we came last. But where does consciousness come from out of all this, all that evolution? As per the answers from others, consciousness comes from the highly complicated random interactions from both instinct and intelligence from any living creature. Yeah, that's basically right. But when you say as per the answers from others, you should cite those others. There are also others which say that consciousness comes from complex interactions from atoms and particles. Well, atoms are particles. Which is also somewhat true, but kind of lacking in a way. How so? I mean, this is the same thing. It comes from instinct and intelligence. Those are processes going on in the brain. Yeah, those are interactions between atoms. Those are just different perspectives on the same thing. But how is it lacking? Oh, it's lacking in a way. That's good, specific scientific language. It's lacking in a way. And yes, intelligence may come from the brain after billions of years of evolution. But what about instinct? It comes from the brain after billions of years of evolution. I theorize that the brain is also a dark energy generator. How so? When you theorize something, that means you have done some actual reasoning that leads to that conclusion. Present that reasoning. And also, no, you don't know what dark energy is, which also generates dark energy from out of all its surroundings. How did you measure that? What prediction does this theory of yours make? How would you suggest we test your theory? You don't know what a theory is either. Consciousness emerges from the brain itself, but just where does consciousness really come from? You just said from the brain. It emerges from the brain. Where an example of our brain would be like a quantum computer. You don't know what a quantum computer is. It needs energy to function and a program made of energy to do. I don't even know what it means to have a program made of energy. And neither do you. It's just something you say to sound smart. But you have no idea what it means. What if all of this is not true? How can one ever explain what happens inside the Kola borehole? What does that have to do with anything? So for those who don't know, the Kola borehole, it was a deep hole that was drilled into the earth, and they lowered a microphone into it. And there was this hoax where people claimed that the microphone picked up sounds of souls screaming from hell. So they'd drill a hole down to hell. And it turns out that, it was a hoax. Of course it was a hoax. The sound came from a movie. So they identified the sound effect that was used in the hoax. So because of a hoax, you draw the conclusion that there are living creatures made of dark energy. I don't even know what that would mean. Living entities are made of matter. Yes, there's energy in that matter, but how do you even reach the conclusion that it is possible for a creature to be made of energy? I'm not sure what that would mean. I mean, it's a sci-fi concept that falls apart the second you try to think about it, really. So what happens when any organism dies? Well, it breaks down because it can no longer maintain homeostasis. We complicate ourselves by the visual and mathematical evidences. Wait a minute. By visual, I'm assuming you mean empirical. Are you suggesting that it's bad to follow the evidence? I thought this was supposed to be a scientific paper, and you're saying disregard the evidence. We're just overcomplicating things by looking at evidence. My theory on this, as we have consciousness, we have a soul. What is a soul? Is that just another name for consciousness? If that's the case, I agree with you, but so what? The soul is the overall energy or neural energy within the brain. Okay, you're giving a definition. I gotta give you credit for that. You're defining what the soul is. The soul is the energy in the brain. Upon death, the soul will either be attracted to hell, purgatory, or heaven. No, it won't. The energy will dissipate into the surrounding environment in accordance with the laws of thermodynamics. Heaven is positive dark energy. What, as opposed to negative dark energy? How would that work? And heaven is a force that pushes galaxies away from each other. What? You're defining heaven as whatever causes the acceleration of the expansion of the universe to accelerate. That's your definition of heaven. Okay. Hell is the planet's core. What? Okay. Where the souls will help nourish the planet's core. What does that even mean? And purgatory is the planet's surface itself, where the soul, I assume, is to wander the planet or be reborn once more. Please tell me you're not being literal. You are being literal, aren't you? How can one prove reincarnation? Well, good luck with that. Why do people have memories of their past lives when they're young? They don't. Or have some kind of out of body experience where they experience some unexplainable events. They don't. All that stuff is bullshit. It can never be shown under controlled conditions. Ever. So all those stories you've heard, all of them are bullshit. Why can some people see or feel these energy entities when the majority cannot? They can't. Why do we dream? Dreaming to the majority is the brain shutting down to maintain itself. Well, yeah, basically. My theory is that blah, 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 you're gonna say that we leave our bodies, right? We can tap in to see other we're going into other universes when we dream. It would be wrong for me to say, no, that's not true. What I should say is, can you present any evidence to back up this completely unfounded assertion? You don't have a theory. You have a completely unfounded claim. The quantum realm. Uh-oh. From the start of the known universe, there were about two kinds of particles. Yeah. Which are particles and antiparticles. Okay, so you're saying particle is a type of particle. Of course, everything would go as programmed by the dark energy or quantum energy, as the program would all start off random processes toward it. You don't know what dark energy is. Some would say or don't believe in the quantum.
English, motherfucker! motherfucker, do you speak it?
As science or many people would heavily rely on visual and mathematical evidences. Again, I'm assuming that by visual you mean empirical. You seem to be saying that quantum mechanics is for those who go beyond, the puny science that deals with math and looking at evidence and stuff like that. So you don't know what quantum mechanics is. You really are talking about quantum woo, quantum mysticism, not quantum mechanics, which is all about empirical evidence and a lot of mathematics. An example of dark matter would be beehives. No. My recommendation is that the only way to know about dark energy is to logically analyze its true nature. How? And do you even know what that means? As no present or maybe future equipment is able to analyze its true nature. Okay, so what you're saying is, in the complete absence of evidence, we're going to analyze it logically. Okay, what good would that do? No, seriously, what good would that do? Do you know what you mean? Because logic is about the structure of an argument or a line of reasoning. You need empirical facts to plug into the logic so that a conclusion can come out. You don't mean logically analyze. You mean speculate based on intuition. And what good is that going to do? Because intuition doesn't tell us anything about dark energy. Also, the history of science is the history of intuition being proven wrong over and over and over and over. Intuition is not useful in this context. Science is now almost at the limit of its capacity. How do you know that? How do you know what discoveries will be made 500 years from now? How do you know that? How do you know that science cannot move further than it already has? How do you know that? I'll give you a hint. People have been saying this for as long as there has been science. There have always been people who say that everything that can be invented has been invented, and they are consistently shown that they are wrong. And they never learn. Oh yeah, but now everything has been invented. Oh, there's a new invention. Oh yeah, but now. This is just people with no imagination. That's it. They can't imagine that there are other people with ideas that they themselves do not have. The only things left to discover is for the final frontier, which is space. No, there's a lot left to discover here on Earth. And space, as we know it, is filled with dark energy and all other matter. So what? There's yet a major number of things which we have not yet accepted that we have already discovered what? All that is left to discover is out there in space. Yet a major number of things which we have not accepted that we have already discovered.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Well, if one would like evidence of my theories, but not empirical or mathematical evidence, just idle speculation, because that's evidence of your theories, which do not describe anything in ways that allow us to make testable predictions, so they don't actually constitute theories. They may do the below, which would also fall as inhumane. Get a dead person's brain, okay? Make a machine to make the brain work by jump-starting it, like jump-starting an engine. Oh, yeah, okay. Jump-start a brain which has already died, and begun to break down, because once it's dead, it can no longer maintain homeostasis. So it'll break down. So you can't start it back up. I mean, it's literally impossible because it's broken. But okay, let's do that. Okay. Plug the brain inside the machine so that it can also harvest the energy coming from the brain itself. Okay, we're going to take this zombie brain, which we have reanimated with magic, because that would be required, put it in a machine so the machine can draw energy from the brain, okay? Measure the voltage. Okay, that one we can... No problem. If one follows these 4 steps, then it might be possible to prove these theories above. No. Because what you just suggested is completely unrelated to everything you've said so far. Along with harvesting dark energy. But there is no dark energy in a brain. I suppose there could be dark energy in the space the brain occupies, but in absolutely negligible amounts. And it would have nothing to do with the brain. Would the brain display consciousness once more? I don't know. Since we're talking about something that is physically impossible, I really can't tell you. If one would take advantage of that and harness from any human, then we could harness almost unlimited energy. No. The total energy that you can harvest from a source is the amount of energy in that source that is available to do work. The Matrix is not a documentary. And if one might also be seeking proof, one should either do the above or do some meditation and feel some kind of energy or experience an out-of-body experience. Yes, Jordan. Conclusion. These theories, which are yet unknown, so they're not theories then, is yet to be proven. Well, if it's not proven, then it's not a theory. Yet it proves very logical. There is no logic anywhere in anything you wrote. And that the evidence is all around us, except you can't point to it. Evidence is uncountable. Usually. I mean, it's not wrong, apparently, to say evidences, but no one says that except creationists and you. After all, everything is for a purpose. We have not established that. You are just asserting it. We just have to discuss. You are just asserting things and say, "Oh, we've proven this because I've said so." So again, I ask, if organic life is made out of atoms, how can they move without their atoms falling apart? Oh yeah, that was one of your initial questions, and you have not addressed it in this entire paper. And the answer is electromagnetism. It is because of dark energy. You have not shown that. You have not demonstrated any reasoning that leads to that conclusion. And you still don't know what dark energy is. Please also note these theories are maybe not yet complete and maybe still lacking. No shit. References? You haven't cited a single source anywhere. But here... One, space.com. Where do you cite number 1? You're not citing this source anywhere. You're not citing any of these sources. Why are they here? You haven't cited a single source in the entire paper, and now you have references. Space.com. What is dark energy? Let's have a look. What is dark energy? What is dark energy? Dark energy is driving the accelerating expansion of the universe, but its nature remains a complete mystery. Dark energy is a hypothetical form of energy that is proposed by physicists to explain why the universe is not just expanding, but is doing so at an accelerating rate. Think of dark energy as the evil counterpart, within quotation marks, to gravity, an anti-gravity force providing a negative pressure that fills the universe and stretches the very fabric of space-time. As it does so, dark energy drives cosmic objects apart at an increasingly rapid rate. Yeah. That is what causes the rate to increase. Exactly. Rather than drawing them together as gravity does. Yes. Dark energy is estimated to account for between 68 and 72% of the universe's total energy and matter. Yeah. You cite this! You haven't read this! You absolute moron! You include it as a reference, but you never actually use it, and you haven't read it! You absolute idiot!